All right. Well, howdy, everybody. It's Friday for me, so I want to say happy Friday, but it's on the internet, so we can watch it whenever we want. So today I'm going to break you up into just the three components, or show you the three components that we're going to use for making our pen assemblies here. And this is just a standard little BIC pen that slides out, and it does not have any major components other than the sliding components here. All right, so let's start off with the pen body. We're going to name these things respectively the pen body, the pen cartridge, and the pen cap. So pen body is hexagonal. It's a hexagon. All right, it's got a little round bottom. I really don't care about the bottom cap because it's not an interfacing part. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a polygon. So we're going to, let me move the camera real quick. Try and get it centered. Close enough. So we are going to create a sketch here. And we are going to go to create and choose a polygon. And you have two options. You have a circumscribed polygon and an inscribed polygon. What those mean is the circumscribed polygon is the circle that you are measuring with, because you're really making a diametered circle. Circumscribed polygon is that you measure a circle and then it is going to make the polygon outside of that circle. And an inscribed polygon is the other way around. You're going to make a circle, it's going to go inside that circle. So for us, we're going to do a circumscribed polygon because what it looks like for us, so when we click it and we drag it, it is going to ask us the radius. Now, I can just measure the diameter of this with my calipers, and then I can divide it by 2, either in my head with a calculator, or the system will do it really nicely for me. So I'm just taking this right here in my calipers, and my number I'm getting is 0.291. Now, you have to identify that this is asking for it as a radius. If you just do 0.291 right here, it's going to look kind of funky, all right? And you know what? I'll show you what that looks like. So we're going to click Finish Sketch. We'll extrude this body here. And I'm going to only extrude up until the point where it starts to narrow over here. So it starts to narrow off down here. So I'm going to measure right up until that point. So this is going to be about 4.943. All right. So when I look at my home view, it looks kind of chunky. It looks like a crayon. All right. So looking at this, I'm gonna be like, ooh, that's not what my pen looks like. Let me look at my original sketch, and I can edit my sketch and be like, oh, hey, look, this arrow is measuring from the center, the center to the outside, which is giving me a radius. So I can double click it. It's going to offer a chance to redimension it. And like I said, I can do it with a calculator, I can do it in my head, I can do it on a piece of paper. But what I can also do is I can click the right arrow and then just click the slash sign for divide and then click 2 and then click enter. It resizes it. It does all the math for me. And I don't have to worry about, getting a number off or anything. So I can click finish sketch here. Click the home button, and that looks a lot better. That looks more like a pen that I am making here. Whoa, things are moving. All right, let me move this over here. That way we can actually see centered. So now we have our pen. Now, excuse me, to get the top part of our pen from the bottom part of the of where it starts to narrow and taper off to the top part of where it starts to narrow and taper off, we are going to click construct and do an offset plane. Now when we do an offset plane, we can choose which plane we want, and I'm going to choose this plane here. This is the top part, and I'm going to measure from the top of my pen, the very top, all right, to where it stops tapering. And that is going to be about 0.291. So now if I look at it from the side, there's my new plane I can draw on, and here's my original pen body. So I'm going to click home, click this face, click create sketch, and now whatever shape I make is going to be on this plane for me already. So I'm just going to click center diameter circle. I'm going to measure the outside diameter of this. And that's going to get me 0.232. There's my circle. I can click finish sketch, do my home view, and now I have a circle that is offset from the plane at the top of my polygon. Now I can click create, go to loft, which we've used before, and click my two faces. Now I want to make sure I don't just click the center, because if I click the center, it's going to make it a point. I don't want to make it a point. I want the whole circle. That's why I drew the circle there. So I'm going to click the circle. Now it has lofted that, and I can click OK. Now it's one whole body, one whole cohesive unit. And I click shell. When I click shell, what's going to do is whatever face I click on, I'm going to say, hey, I want you to start scratching out on this face. And it's going to say, all right, sweet, I can start digging a hole from here. How thick do you want the walls of this hole to be? So I'm going to measure the thickness of the wall from the pen here. And I am getting 0.040. And now what it's done is it has, throughout the entire pen, all the way down, hollowed it out. Now I know it's hard to see because it's not a clear body, but that's what the purpose of shell is. So now my pen body is done. So I can save this, and I'm going to save it under, let's save it under a default project for right now. All right, and I'm going to save it under CO, it's my initials, and then pen body. And then that is 1/3 of it. So now I'm going to do the pen cartridge. Now there's a few different ways you can do the pen cartridge, and there's not a right or wrong way. You can either do a profile drawing, and a profile drawing is going to look like this. You're going to start to draw it out and get a general shape here. This requires a little bit more math, which is the way I like to do it. And this isn't exactly right. I'm just kind of drawing something so you get an understanding of it. I click finish sketch. I do revolve. I select it to revolve around this axis, and it spins it all at once. So this is really nice because it makes the whole thing all at the same time. You don't have to worry about any other missing parts. The downside to it is that it requires you to do some more math. So every dimension you take on this, if you're doing it on both sides and you get the diameter, you're going to have to divide it by 2. But luckily the program does that for you. Or you can do that, which is the way I like to do it. It's my favorite. Or we can do it. Oh, this is the wrong way if I want to do it that way. Well, actually, let's just do it that way first. So that way you can see what it looks like. So if I measure my diameter for this pen cartridge, I get 0.116, and I'm going to divide that by 2. Very small. And then now I'm going to measure the length of the pen cartridge, all right, where all the ink is, the ink reservoir component of it. And then so I get 4.437. Make sure it's going up. All right. So I have my pen cartridge here. Now what I can do, there's a few different things I can do. What I think is easiest is using the depth gauge on your caliper. And I'm going to set up the depth gauge right here on the inkwell part. And then I'm going to measure. I'm going to drop the rest of the caliper down onto the khaki looking part here. And it's going to give me the difference between the khaki and the inkwell. That's a small number. It's 0.020. So you can barely tell that it's there. But it is enough to measure, so we are going to keep it there. Now I'm going to measure the height of this first khaki part right here. All right. So measuring that with my inner caliper component, and make my point. I'm going to do 0.367. All right, so that's it up. And then I'm going to do my depth gauge again from the inside of the lower tacky component to the outside of the upper tacky component. There's my lower. Oh, can I get it to focus? No. I'm not fortunate enough to get a focus camera. Whack. All right, there's my lower tacky, there's my upper tacky. So I'm going to measure that distance with my depth gauge, and I'm going to get 0.021. All right. Now I'm going to measure the height. This upper tacky component is divided into a cone and then a cylinder. It's really hard to tell on here. I apologize, but maybe I'll get a secondary camera here soon. I'm going to measure that, and I will get 0.066. And then now here comes the cone portion that is interesting. So what you can do is you can either just measure it fully, and from those whole cones to the very end of the ballpoint pen is going to be about, it's about, did I measure it high? All right, I measured it high. So that is going to be about 0.3165. And now that's locked into place. And it's like, hey, where do you want me to place this? And I can try 0.3165. I'm actually going to draw a center line first. Should have done this earlier, but such is life. So I'm going to draw a center line down here. And click OK. That way it's going to see it as one whole body. And then when I do my 0.03165, not 0.03, 0.3. So that looks wrong. 0.3165. Now I can snap it to this point, which is nice. It does that for me. So you see that X on there. That X means that it is actually connected to that point. And when I click this, it has now made one whole body here. Oh, actually, I don't know if it's one whole body yet because let's look. Double check. All right, yeah, we're good. All right, so I now have a pen cartridge that I can revolve. And then it wants me to select the axis. I'm going to select this. Just going to spin it all at the same time. There's my pen cartridge. And it's pretty darn good. You can do it a little differently at the end because there is a ballpoint on it. I'm not too concerned about that because it really doesn't interface with anything. So we're just going to leave that as it is there. And we will save it to CO pen cartridge. Hopefully I spelled cartridge right. All right, now let's do our pen cap. And what I'm going to do, here's our cap. All right, now this arm can be a pain. I'm not going to concern myself too much with it because like I said before, it is not interfacing with anything necessarily. If this doesn't exist, the pen still works. But I can show you how I did it. But we're going to go for making this whole thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this diameter of the bottom ring, and then I'm going to offset it and then measure the diameter of the top ring. So my bottom ring diameter is going to be 0.432. I'm going to do finish sketch. And I'm going to do construct again and do an offset plane to measure the top part here. And I get 1.321. And here's the top part of my pen. Oh, not 1 point. That's wrong, Mr. Owens. What are you doing? I get, oh no, it's 1.321. 1.321. Yep. All right. Freaking out here. Now I'm going to measure the top diameter here. And when I measure that, I'm going to get 0.159. Now there's a few different ways you can do this. You can do a profile revolve if you want to, just like we did with the pen cartridge, or you can let it do all the work for you and do a loft. I personally like a loft. Like that. There you go. Now, it's not exactly what it looks like, but it's pretty darn close. All right, good for what we need. And then now we need to make it hollow on the inside. So we can do a shell. Problem with the shell is that it won't do anything to the top part of the cap here. So what we can do again is just create another sketch. On top, I'm going to measure the inside diameter of this hole. And we get, let me make a circle. We get 0.122. And now I have a circle on the top. Now I'm going to go underneath now. Create a sketch. Do it here. Choose my circle. All right, I'm going to measure this diameter. And I'm going to get 0.356. Now here's the cool part. Remember that loft we used earlier? We can use loft again, this time with just the inside parts of the circle. And when we loft, down here it says cut. I wanted to cut it out. Now it's hollow. Pretty nice. Now, if you just stop here, that's fine. It still works. If you want to give it the arm, what I did was I clicked the bottom part here. I did a little bit of math, all right? So I measure the width of the arm as it's attached to the pen body on the outside. And the number I get is, gotta draw a line, that way I have something to build off of. And I'm going to do 0.199, I'm going to divide it by 2. I'm going to do the same thing the opposite direction. 0.199 divided by 2. Oh. Why'd that not work this time? Oh, divide by 22 is what I said. Oh, it's not 22. It's 2. There we go. All right. Now, what I have is I have the widths here. Then I can measure the thickness of this pen cap from the inside of it, the inside of the arm to the outside of the arm. And that is going to give me 0.090. Now here's the cool thing. I can make a circle, and not just any circle, a 3-point circle. So I'm going to select this point as one of the parts of my circle. This is how wide it is, but I want it to connect to the body of the pen cap. So I'm going to move it a little bit that way. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now I have a circle that is the size of my that is the size of my pen cap, the arm of it. I can extrude this, select my faces, I'm going to select these two, makes it a little easier for the other part we're about to do. And you can do a one-sided direction or a two-sided direction, or even a symmetric. We don't want symmetric here. So what I'm going to do, whoa, I did not like that, go back. There we go. All right, now this part I'm not really going to measure, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. We're not going to cut, we're going to join. And what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at this slope part. This is making the, it's of fixing these two planes. And you see right here where it starts to become straight. I want to go back to where it's still diagonal, right there, 0.38 for me. And I'm going to leave that there. And then down here, this part I am going to measure. I'm going to measure the length using my depth gauge of the arm. And that gets me 0.896. So now I have a pen arm that fits nicely on here. And I can just fillet these edges as well. Just bring them in a little bit, round them out, click OK, and there we go. We got our 3 pen pieces. Now we just assemble them like we assemble everything. And let me save this. So CO, pen cap, and the default project. Excellent. That's going to be the end of this video. If you'd like to see how to assemble it, make sure you go and see the assemblies. If that is all you needed, well, there you go. You have your pen components. If you feel like you can assemble it properly, after you. Go have fun. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great Friday if it's Friday for you. If it's not Friday, I'm sorry. I hope it's Friday for you soon. But nonetheless, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.